So this next piece, I had a chance to hear an ensemble play, and I was like, oh, I want to find this for the group. It's a completely different flavor than some things we've done here. This is kind of a chance to take us back to the turn of the century, and also with this fantastic novel by Ernest Hemingway. How many of you have read Huckleberry Finn? Good. How many, or Mark Twain, sorry. How many of you read it because it was fun to read? How many of you read it because it was a class assignment? Cool. That's how we educate. So. Anyway, so it's 4 different movements, 4 very, very different styles of playing. You might notice some things that remind you of like folk medleys, or country tunes, or bluegrass tunes, or there's one piece that might even remind you of being like in New York at Coney Island or something that sounds like a carnival. So we're gonna bring up our wonderful English teacher, Miss Adrienne Scott, to read to you a little bit. She's going to tell you about each movement before we perform them. And we rehearse this none of the time.
Good evening. The first part is called A Lazy Town. Huck and Jim are traveling down the river and they come across a town, and this is what Huck has to say about it. One morning, when we was pretty well down the state of Arkansas, we come inside of a little one-horse town. The stores and houses was most all old, shackly, dried up frame. Concerns that had never been painted. Jim. Jim had a hairball as big as your fist, which had been took out of the fourth stomach of an ox. He said there was a spirit inside of it, and he knowed everything. The King and the Duke. One of these fellows was about 70 or upwards and had a bald head and a very gray whiskers. The other fellow was about 30 and dressed about as ornery. Huckleberry's red. You don't know about me without you've read a book by the name of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. But that ain't no matter. That book was made by Mr. Mark Twain, and he told the truth, mainly.